Hello, my name is Chela Vitasovic. This is an introduction to the steps in the WISE improvement methodology. Steps include processes in blue and assessment tools in orange boxes. Videos that provide detailed guidance for each of these steps are being developed now and will be available in the WISE Media Library. Preliminary planning is the first and a key step that defines the vision, goals, and scope for the effort to improve creation of value. The Charter defines the improvement efforts, and commitment or approval from the leadership is a key success factor for improvements. The process that was selected for improvement during the preliminary planning phase is assessed to better understand the nature and the magnitude of challenges that we may be facing. The complexity of the process and the impact that it has on overall performance of utility inform us about the challenges and risks associated with improvement efforts, which also depend on the gap between the current maturity and the desired maturity of the selected process. The tool also assesses the current maturity of the goals and metrics, the process documentation, performance tracking, and management practices. Goals for the improvement effort can also be set for each of the aspects. The scope of improvement will be to close the gap between the current and the desired maturity. Maturity of technologies that enable the selected process include our ability to collect the data required by the process, whether data is well organized, complete, reliable, and accessible, whether current systems include analytical capabilities, and whether business goals are being properly addressed. Capabilities in each layer impact the capabilities in the layers above. For example, if the maturity of collecting data is low, data management is limited. Generally, the maturity of a layer depends on the maturity of the lower layers. Maturity assessments use maturity models that tell us the state of the system for each of the maturity model elements, similarly to a thermostat in a room that shows where we are and where we want to be. The next three steps in the methodology need a different kind of model, the one that shows exactly how the system works. These are system models that are equivalent to engineering blueprints for physical systems. Business process models are system models that are equivalent to blueprints and are used to describe, analyze, and improve business processes and the use of technology. Our models use ISO standard notation to document the current as-is state and also to analyze the as-is state and document the design of the desired to-be system. These examples were part of a case study performed by Orange County, Florida, an improvement effort led by Kevin Simmons. By now, we have documented the current system, the desired system, and identified the scope of changes for transition from as-is to to-be. The changes will impact the workforce, so the next step is to assess the capabilities of the organization and workforce to implement these changes. The change management maturity model is used to assess the readiness for changes. It starts with the leadership and vision, communication, employee skills and capacity, the effectiveness of the current change management process, and the capability to execute change. Similarly to technology, the lower levels support the upper layers. For example, leadership and vision and communication are foundational and have great impact on the upper layers. When a weakness is identified in one of the areas, example, employee skills and capacity, mitigation strategies need to be put in place, in this case, to provide training and/or allocate adequate resources. WISE Toolbox includes tools to assess the maturity of the organization and the workforce. For the organization, the layers of the maturity model include organizational values, communication and feedback, and employee reward and recognition. The maturity of these elements have impact on the workforce. including employee engagement and teamwork and collaboration, which impact accountability and performance. Results from these assessment tools provide us with a comprehensive map of the organization's current and desired capabilities. This may look overwhelming, but we need to remember two things. One, the tools include common sense questions, and they are relatively easy to apply. The questions they contain we would need to answer anyway during our improvement efforts, and it is far better to ask them up front. To effectively communicate the results of these assessments, we can use dashboards that include the as-is, the blue dots and lines, and to-be, orange dots and lines, for processes, technology, workforce, organization, and change management. Such dashboards can be used in meetings and workshops to identify the opportunities for improvement and to make decisions on priorities. This information is very useful for the preparation of the project management plans and for implementing the improvements. An online media library is under development that will include videos for each of the steps that we have briefly mentioned in this video, which is one of the early contributions to be posted there. WEF is offering classes in business process modeling, and implementations of WISE methods and tools will produce case studies and artifacts that will be added to the already extensive WISE online shared knowledge base. Most utilities have existing methods and tools for project management. The goal of WISE is not to replace those, but to add value to the organization's existing practices and tools in these areas. It is important to note that there is flexibility in the application of the tools. For example, assessment of the selected business process may determine that the process is very complex, that process documentation is poor, the impact of the process on the overall performance of utility is critical, and the business goals have not been well defined. So we might want to adjust the scope. For example, start with a simpler sub-process and use an incremental approach. In another case, a utility may decide to focus only on the issues related to workforce and organizational culture across the organization and not focus on a specific business process. Thank you for watching the introduction to the WISE methodology for improvement. Detailed information about each of the methodology steps is being developed and will be posted to our media library. Our contact information is included. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments.